Hello there, my name is Angelo. Welcome to my tutorials. Today I'm going to teach you how to dop a stone using the wax method. Okay, these are the tools that you need. You need some high temperature wax made for the doping of gems. This is from High-Temp. These two are different, and you can see by the color. The color indicates the different temperatures that they melt. So you can see the difference of the colors indicates different functions. The black one, it's a more rigid and it melts at higher temperature. The green one melts at a lower temperature and is more flexible therefore. The green one usually is more used for cabbing, while the black one is more for faceting. But I find out that sometimes the black one becomes a bit too brittle in cold climates. When outside is kind of cold, the black one becomes a bit too brittle for my taste, and it tends to break, so the stone can pop out and starts all the problems involved with it. So during winter, let's say I use mostly the green one. In the market there is also a brown one, but I never used it, so I can teach you on these two kinds, which is more than enough. Since 20 years I've been using them, and I never had so many problems. Alright. Okay, so let's start with the tools. So you got your wax, doping wax. Today we're gonna use the black one. Then you got your dop. This is a facetron dop, a flat one. Then you got, this is a broomstick section that I chop off from a broomstick, and I make a hole just enough to fit this thing tightly, snugly. Then you got, of course, your stone that you had to perform at least a flat surface on the side. You don't need, I mean, you could even preform it, but I usually don't do that. The most important point for doping the stone is to have a flat surface, and the rougher the better. I realized this flat surface at the grit of 220, but you can have it also at the coarser grit, maybe 180. Or even coarser. Depends on the size of the stone and what you want to do. But don't keep it, try to keep it kind of rough, because the lower the grit you use, the more crevices in the surface that you cannot see, but they are there, and the more it's going to be easy for the wax to grip on. Okay? So what I do, not to shock the stone that you're cutting, is to use a little homemade burner here. I put the candle underneath, and this one actually was to keep money inside, so there is a slit which is very useful for me. I put the stone here to cook for a while. It doesn't really have to heat too much, but just hot enough so that the wax can key in. And so now another tool that we're going to use is this. This is a gas burner. You can see here is rechargeable, so you just have to plug in the rechargeable bottle for the gas. And you can find many different of these ones in any store. Okay. The reason why I'm using these things instead of a usual alcohol burner is that, you see, let's examine the flame. The flame of a candle or the flame of a spirit burner, they have more or less the same shape. Now, I'm not going to debate about the difference that, for example, other wax, you're going to have a lot of soot which is going to stick on the stone and interfere with the bonding, of course. The spirit burner, which I don't even have, was going to have a much cleaner flame than that, but still the shape is not going to be that different from that one. That means that you cannot pinpoint the place where you're going to heat up, which we need here. Okay, because once I switch on this, you will see once I switch these on, I can just, you see, I can just pinpoint the place where I can heat up. Now if you see these bubbles, you're too hot and you're destroying actually the wax. So the best thing is to, let's say, just clean it completely out. You don't really need to cool it completely because you will need a bit of heat for the stickiness. Now let's move this thing aside and I can show you. This is a base. It's it's actually a base for the concave machine, but you can use any metal base. You will see now. Okay. So what you want to do is to melt a bit of the wax, a bit heating up this one, a bit of the wax, so that you're gonna have a bit of wax molten. I don't use these hands, I usually do like this. See? Well, not easy to work with the camera on in between. Let me see. I gotta be better. Okay, so observe that if you have this metal too hot, the wax is gonna slide on when you're gonna do this job here, which is squeezing off any air bubble from within. And you heat it up again. You see, doing this, you're gonna move it a bit along the way towards the tip. So I work it a bit up like that. So if you have the metal too cold, the wax is not gonna stick. If it's too hot, still not gonna stick because it's gonna slide off. Now what we have now, our stone kind of warm, and you have your wax still warm. What you're gonna do is just keeping warming it, and warm a bit also the surface. Of course, the stone first has to be bathed in acetone to clear up any grease on the surface, and then you just tap a bit of heat, pinpointing it between the stone and the wax so that it can flow down a bit. Okay. Once you have done this, you put it on the transferring block so that can be set. Okay, let me see. Now this thing is setting up a bit, but okay. The nice thing of the topping with the wax is that actually you can still slide it, move it around a bit, center it, because you're gonna have center it towards the 96th day, and you have to. What I'm doing here now is to press the stone all around the top to have it more or less centered. Well, I gotta be kind of quick. Okay. Okay. So now, if you have some parts of the stone which are uncovered by the wax, you can still, because of the flame is very sharp and everything is very warm, you can pinpoint the heat and equalize the amount of wax all around the stone. Okay. Yeah. It should look like this. A good dopping should look like this. See? And best, you should be able to see the tip of the dop through the crystal. That means that the metal is attached to it's just touching completely the surface you made of the stone, on the stone, and so that's the maximum bond you can have. And once it's cold, you can use it. But now, the next step we got to do is to center the stone to the dop. And I'm not going to use, you see, I don't even have it. But now the manufacturer of the Fasotron, they did target dop, which I don't have. I never used it, so I don't know if it's accurate as my method, but my method uses the micrometer, which is embedded in the facetron, in the head of a facetron. So I don't think you can center the dop better than that way, and I'll show you how right now. So one of the first advantages of using the wax is actually you can modify or twist or straighten up the stone into the dop while it's set onto the machine. See, this is a standard faceton. You see, I selected this stone to be heart shape. You can see the rough actually tells you that. And as I dopped it, more or less I put the bottom, which is this tip here, at 96, but I can better that just a little bit to make it straighter, and I can do that actually heating up the side. Just there, you see the pinpointing of the heat just between the metal, just to soften the wax around the stone without heating the stone at all. Put it 96 degrees and you can still move slightly. Let me see if I can show you this better. Okay, I'm heating. Don't exaggerate on the stone because you might break it. I don't suggest the use of the wax on stones like tanzanites or turquoise or stones that are sensitive to the heat. This is a tourmaline in this case, it's not a big deal. Just any material, any stone in any case, except the spinel, but I haven't actually put it to the test. That even if they're not heat sensitive, you just be careful not to heat up too much a side of a stone, because you can shock the stone and it's gonna crack. Alright, so now it looks like it's aligned, north, south, east, west, and so on. Now we're gonna see if the sides are centered towards the in respect of the dop. We're gonna measure it using this little guy here. Let's do it. Put it 90 degrees. Here on the dial, which is already 90, and then we put it down. I'm gonna show you now. Like that. Okay, cool. You can have a look. You can use any lap. I just use the rough ones because in any case I have to grind. So okay, first of all we're going to set 4 little facets on the stone, because we don't want the asperities of the crystal to shift the stone sideways, like twisting it. So we put 90 degrees there, is fine. We're just gonna grind a little bit, regardless if the stone is aligned in the center or not, in respect of the dot. We're just gonna make 4 facets. Wow. 48. So we're gonna make the flat 48 here. You see? I don't know if you can see it properly. There it is. Flat 48. And we make a flat 96 as well. Just tiny. So that when we press against the stone, not gonna shift. Okay, so we make a flat 96, which is this one here, and a flat 48, which is that one. Now we do also the 72. There, and the 24. As you can see, the stone is not centered at all. but this is what we're gonna do now. Okay, done. We put it on. We have to center it between 96 and 48, which is the opposite, and between 24 and 72. Now how are we going to do that? Now 96, we touch the lap and we put the 0. See that? Okay. Now we turn it upside down, 48, and then we see, where does it measure? You see it goes over, a lot over. That means that the 48 is too high respect on the 96. So let's drop down. Let's drop down using the micrometer here. We drop it until 0. Okay, so now we got the other point of reference, which is 48. And let's measure how far is 96. You can see that. So even though it looks like close, while you touch it is not, in fact. So what you're going to do is just going to move this up. And how? Just going to heat up the side of the wax to loosen up the stone and press on the dop, and we see that the dial, the arm of the dial is gonna move. Now nobody taught me this thing, I just learned it with practice, and it saved me a lot of material. So I'm gonna be happy when this thing is gonna reach the half, because now I'm gonna put to 0 again. And now I'm gonna do 0.96 now. As you can see, 96 now is at 0, and measure 48 to see how far is it now. See, it's much closer. We're gonna still do this a bit. Oh, okay, that's close enough. Okay, that's close enough. In any case, I have to still grind a lot. Just remember one thing, very important. When you're sliding the dop onto the stone, you have to make sure always when you finish that the stone didn't shift on this axis as well. You see, it didn't make this movement. It means that the metal of the dop still have to touch the surface, the flat surface on top. As you can see here, you can see through that crystal. That's the dop. See that? Yeah. Because if that shifted, then you will not have a flat stone set onto the dop. And if that occurs, you gotta get back your transparent block, and you gotta put it back again there, and then press it against a flat surface to have that thing square again. And then you have to check it again. But this is avoided with one simple thing, one simple movement. While you're pushing, you support the stone with this hand, so that it just slides down instead of moving upwards. Do you understand? That's it. You should be fine. With a bit of practice, it's not gonna cause any problem. Now, this centering method allows you also to grind off at wherever the blemish on the stone is. You just grind it off completely, and once you're satisfied with it, you just recenter it. You understand? So it means that you remove the blemish and then you recenter it towards the opposite side, the symmetry. So you're going to have a stone which is centered onto the dop, and you avoided also the blemishes which are inside. Alright, let's go to the next steps. I have to cut this gem, at least the pavilion, to show you how to undop it successfully. So see you soon. So as you can see, the wax held quite well, and I'll be able to perfectly polish the surface of the tourmaline here. If I can get some, yeah, without crack and anything. Nothing happened to the wax at all. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to transfer this to this, through this, without shifting anything. So you're going to have always the line of the girdle line always nice and leveled. I'm gonna show you how. Okay, let's put this one here first. Make sure that the surface of the polished gem here is completely clean. So it means that with the paper you remove all the fingerprints and any dirt which is there, any oily material from there. So you're gonna get the top and then a little bit of wax, and as before we're just gonna melt and fill this cup up with some fresh wax. So we heat up a bit, a little dot here, and we melt a bit wax, a bit and a bit, and then we scoop it up. It's not enough. Right. Okay. Scoop up a little bit of wax, and then we're going to work it out against a metallic surface, a cold metallic surface. Wood will not work because it's going to stick to the wood. Okay. Yeah. There we go. We're going to position this, which is kind of warm, into the final position, which is that one. We're going to take a strip of paper, just a bit, not too long, not too broad, just a piece of paper, like this. Tissue paper is the best. I'm going to wet it with some water. Why? Because we're going to protect the wax which is into place, is holding our stone. We're going to protect it with a bit of water so that the wax doesn't melt and it stays quite hard. This actually prevents any shifting while we transfer the stone. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to heat up nicely the wax which is in there on the top, nice and warm, and then we're going to put it there. And with passage, yeah, you see, what you want here is to melt the wax on the lip, just on the spot, so that the bond can be complete and very strong. Yes. And the last little bit. Yeah, that's it. So now we're going to wait that the wax cools, and we keep the piece of paper into position. A few seconds is going to be enough. Let's check. When your fingernail doesn't make any dent into the wax, the procedure is done. Now what we're going to do is to release this side. Well, if you cannot get back the paper all together again, you just rip another piece and you make a new one. And then we're going to apply it on the other side. So that's going to keep the new bond firm and cool without shifting the stone again. Yes. So we're just protecting the alignment right now. What we're doing here now is to melt the other side, keeping in tension the transferring block, so that while you're melting, you're pulling the stone away. You'll see now. Let's do it here like this. Yeah, heating up, mostly the metal. While you're pulling, eventually, when it's ready, yeah, that's what happens. That the wax give up one side and leave the stone free. Okay, we're allowed to cool. Then what we're going to do is we remove the excess with the razor blade. That I'm searching where I put it. Okay, this is a bit old, but still gonna do the trick. So we're just gonna remove the excess wax from the stone. If the wax overlaps a bit the girdle line at this stage while we are cutting, you just have to scrape it out from the edge, but don't dig in it, because the more wax is around here in this area, the more stable is going to be the stone. I forgot to mention something earlier. While you're polishing the stone, unless you're using a continuous drip to cool off the stone, you have to allow the gemstone to cool off between the facets. When you polish the facet dry, you have to allow the stone to cool, otherwise it's going to melt slowly the wax, and it's not going to pop out, but it's going to shift it, and you don't want that, because you want to keep a very nice straight girdle line. See, as you can see, the stone didn't move at all. And then we proceed with the faceting of the crown, and I'll show you how to remove and to finally remove the wax from the stone. See you soon. Okay, as you can see, the wax held very well. Also the top faceting. You can see that the girdle, it's flat, except for some defects that I had to fix because of inclusions, but you can see that the stone is not skew at all. Alright, so what we're going to do now, we just have to remove it. And how we do that is easy. We just take our broomstick, and then we just heat up the wax far away from the stone and the metal. We heat up mostly the top. Okay, like so, until you can see that the stone will just pop up by itself, and we collect it with the paper so that we can just pinch out the wax. Like that. And now we're gonna just make it, just plunge it into pure acetone, like so. Yeah, you can use acetone, you can use thinners, you can use also methylated spirit, but out of my experience, I prefer above all, I prefer the acetone, which keeps the stone very clean. Makes the stone very clean actually, but at the end you will end up with a very clean stone. See, the wax is almost gone completely. Another method to remove the wax from the stone is actually to put it into the fridge, to the deep freezer. What happens is that the wax becomes so brittle that as you pop it out of the freezer, you just pull it and it's going to come out, because the wax will break off the stone. Let's see how did the stone come out. It's a surprise for me too every time I finish cutting. Yeah, hello beautiful you. So there you got it. And then thank God, thanks to your art and to the doping stick of wax that you bought, you successfully cut the gemstone, a straight gemstone. Okay. I personally throw away every bit of wax because I don't want impurities to it, but you can recover the pieces and melt them together again. That's it for now. I'll talk to you again for the next tutorial. Keep well and God bless you. Bye bye.